Should you lower your motorcycle because you can't touch the floor? I thought so, but let me tell you why I think this is a bad idea. When I started riding, I wasn't very comfortable on the bike and I felt like I was going to drop the bike at every stop. So I decided to buy lowering links to help. And while this helped me feel more confident when coming to a stop, I didn't realize I was sacrificing so much. Lowering the rear of the motorcycle threw off my motorcycle's geometry and with it the handling and behavior. I know some will make the argument that I can lower the bike and still be perfectly okay, that I need to do it the right way, which is code for blowing up money on replacement parts and or lowering the front. However, bike geometry is not that simple and requires more knowledge than most of us will ever have about suspension. So despite making adjustments to the front, the rear might just be too low to maintain proper geometry. But don't think that adjusting your suspension isn't a good thing. Experts like Dave Moss encourage it. However, it's just not the best idea if your sole purpose is to slam the bike so you can touch the ground. Alright, so how exactly did my bike suffer? Well, for starters, steering response. Tipping was very sluggish, and this was attributed to the rake or trail angle. Not sure really, but I basically made my sport bike into a cruiser. I'm no expert with suspension, but I was watching YouTube videos about motorcycle geometry, and I think Mike on Bikes does a very good job explaining geometry concepts without making your head hurt. And I don't think I can do as good a job as he did, so watch his video for a better understanding. Also, talk to your local suspension shop and see what they have to say. If you're still confused after watching that video and talking to your suspension person, that alone should tell you why this is a bad idea, but there's more. Since the rear of your motorcycle is now lower, more weight transferred to the rear, especially under hard acceleration, which further increases your rake angle, but also makes you lose front end grip and feel. Additionally, the rear shock is being taxed so much that it might not have enough damping, rebound, and or preload adjustment to compensate, and you will end up with a shock that doesn't ride well, especially at higher lean angles and when you're pushing that motorcycle. The shock will simply bottom out too quickly and want to buck you off mid-corner when you hit a bump instead of absorbing it. Even after Dave Moss adjusted my suspension, I was getting thrown out the seat when bumps came up mid-corner. He begged me to race my bike, but I didn't want to listen. If you're just worried about freeway pulls, this might even help you out. Also, this won't affect you as much if you're a rider who rarely sees lean angle higher than a moped. And speaking of lean angles, with your motorcycle lowered, your bike will start scraping hard parts a lot sooner, and I don't think I need to say how bad that can be. But I'll say it anyway. When you start scraping hard parts, the next step might be crashing, either because the tires lose grip or because you got scared and reached for the brakes. Braking performance will decrease as well due to the weight being rear biased and the angle at which the front tire makes contact with the ground, so you'll find yourself having to apply the brakes sooner for longer to achieve the same results. On twisty roads, you might never get to push because you're constantly on the brakes trying to stop your sport bike with cruiser geometry. Cruisers get away with that geometry because they are meant to be used as cruisers, not canyon carvers. But some people push them either way, but that's not the point. The point is your high-performance machine is closer to a cruiser than a sport bike, and your inability to stop quickly will make your rides either boring or dangerous. I went with boring because I don't want to die, and that took away from my experience as a rider and prevented me from being faster in a safe way. While I'm not sure if other components such as bearings in the frame and internal components in your shocks are being affected and thus lowering their lifespan, I can see how they could. But again, I don't have enough knowledge to make a statement like that. Still, that's something to keep in mind. For example, rear tires would probably wear faster now that they must carry more weight, and while your front tires might last longer, your front brakes won't. You get the idea. Okay, so you still want to lower your bike. Please, first try this. Learn to ride the motorcycle at the stock height and just lean the motorcycle over to one side so you can touch the ground with one foot. You'd be amazed at how little effort it takes to keep the motorcycle upright even at a full stop. Here I'll show you what I do now on my bike. If you're too uncomfortable to try this on the street with traffic and all, first try it in your garage with someone there to help you in case you're about to drop the bike. Try shaving your seat. This means removing some of the foam material in your stock seat and then reupholstering the seat. In many cases, this lowers the seat height between 1 to 2 inches, and that might be enough to make it comfortable enough for you to leave your bike at stock height. A custom seat is expensive, but at least you won't have to deal with any of the other drawbacks from lowering your bike, and you might be able to get even more than the 1 to 2 inches from just shaving your OEM seat. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope you learned something today, and I hope I convinced you not to make the mistake I made of lowering my bike.